So you know how the worst spot to be in the NBA is right in the middle, where you're good enough to maybe make the playoffs and be a middle ground team, but you're not a title contender. You don't really have a chance of becoming a title contender. And as a result, you're going to get like the 13th or 14th pick in the draft. That's pretty much where the Dallas Mavericks are at the moment. You can start with Deron Williams, who has regressed into a probably mid-tier or perhaps even lower-tier point guard in the NBA. Combination of injuries, always being a little bit too heavy. Perhaps his confidence has dipped a little bit. And Jerry Sloan's ghost waking him up every night for getting him fired, even though Jerry Sloan's not dead. And also I got that from Reddit. D. Will is just not the point guard you need to really be a winner. Now their wing situation is interesting. There's Wesley Matthews, who pre-injury, knockdown, lockdown as I like to call him. Hopefully he can get back to that. That Achilles injury usually takes about a year, and he really shouldn't have been playing last season at all, but he wanted to rush back, and he wasn't really that good last season, but if Wesley Matthews can get back to the really good shooter and defensive player for them, I think that's a nice shooting guard. I'm also intrigued by Harrison Barnes. I think his scoring could dip up because, as we know, he was asked to basically just be the fifth guy for the Warriors a lot of times. He also shot enough bricks to build a house in the NBA Finals, but I think asking him to take on more of a scoring load and perhaps more of a ball handling role for you, hopefully Barnes can become something. I mean, he's already a nice defender and a nice outside shooter. He has a decent post-up game. Like, he's definitely a valuable player. The question is, can he go that next level? You got Dirk at the 4, who's still a damn good offensive power forward. He can still shoot from outside. He can still hit a turnaround jumper and all that. But his defense is just, it's pretty not good. He's kind of stuck in cement a lot of times, which is too bad because if they would have signed DeAndre Jordan a couple years ago before he went all wishy-washy and JJ Redick and Chandler Parsons brought Twitter gold, if they would have got DeAndre, that might be a different story with how they are defensively, especially with Rick Carlisle, who's the second best coach in the NBA. But Dirk, he's just not going to do anything for you on defense. And then you got Andrew Bogut at center, who could still be a good defensive center, but that's like the least athletic front court in the NBA right there. Dirk and Bogut. And then you got Deron Williams not playing much defense at the point guard spot. They're just stuck, man. And I think the Mavericks, the one thing that they've done over the years is they've been able to sign free agents. Okay, they got Monte Ellis, they almost had DeAndre Jordan, they got Harrison Barnes, they got Wesley Matthews. Is there a chance that they could just land a big-name free agent over these next coming seasons and then it's all good? Yes, that is very possible. They have a track record of landing free agents. Chandler Parsons, another one. But you can't put all of your eggs into the boat of free agency, you know? So if we look at some of the younger guys on their roster, there's Justin Anderson, who's an athlete, but he has no offensive game whatsoever, so as of right now, he's setting up to be Iman Shumpert. But he doesn't have the flat top, so, I mean, you lose points right there immediately. There is Dwight Powell, who seems really intriguing as a big man. I thought he was like a decent shooter. According to the shot chart site, he's actually kind of mediocre for mid-range, but he had some moments for the Mavericks last season, perhaps with a larger role. He can be good for them. He's also a beast in 2K, especially for my team if you're looking for a bronze player, so there you go. They also have a slew of centers that I've actually never heard of before. There's one guy whose name I can't pronounce at all. There's also AJ Hammonds, who was a second-round pick. Bernard James. I don't know, you hopefully one of these guys could become something for you as a big man. But really, I think the Mavericks, they're putting all of their eggs into the basket of free agency. And I just don't think that's a very safe way to go about it. And if they continue down this path, they might just be a comfortable 6th seed for the next, 5 years, even after Dirk's retired. So I think they're either going to have to find some diamonds in the rough, and they do have all of their first-round picks moving forward, so they could get some nice pieces in the draft, or they're going to have to pull off some opportunistic trades. And funny enough, another team that I'm going to be talking about today, the Phoenix Suns, who have a decision to make when it comes to their point guard position between Eric Bledsoe and Brandon Knight. I could see the Mavericks jumping in on that. You might have to give up Harrison Barnes or Wesley Matthews, or maybe you can just do Deron Williams, a pick, whatever. I don't know what you do. but the draft picks will definitely help when it comes to a trade. I think the first step is that point guard position, because, I mean, Mark Cuban, he's not going to tank. I'm not going to tell them to bottom out and go for the top pick in the draft, because that's just not what they do. It's not going to happen, so there's no point in talking about it. So if they could use those draft picks to acquire a point guard when it becomes available, I did just mention the Phoenix Suns, and then hopefully land on some first-round picks, you could be setting yourself up to be pretty good. And then, of course, there is always the Mark Cuban free agency thing. But these are all chances, and I have to admit, if I had to lean towards one side, if the Mavericks can really get back up to championship contention or just be kind of mediocre for a while, I'm leaning towards mediocrity. That doesn't mean they can't get out of it, but the trajectory they're on right now, it's just stuck in the middle, man. They either have to acquire some big-name players, or they're going to bottom out, and the Mavericks are not going to bottom out. So they better land on free agency, they better land with some draft picks, or they better pull off some big-time trades. So I think that'll do it. I fear that the Mavericks are stuck in the middle, but with Mark Cuban as the guy running the shop, you can't really count him out either.